Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video I want to go ahead and take a look at the HTTP requests, working with the API directly and seeing what we can do here. A lot of times I'll go ahead and do a webhook as the same entry point to work with the API, because it's really just, instead of being able to use the Keap nodes in n8n, these just give you some added flexibility. Of course, if you're doing very simple things like adding tags, it's a lot easier to just throw a node on, to tell it you want to add the tag, and be done with it. Unfortunately, there are quite a few things that you cannot do directly into Keap nodes at this point, so we will go ahead and take a look at those. To start with, you'll see when I ran this previous one, I was using one of the API endpoints from the Keap API, which is just getting contacts. But instead of just getting contacts, I can get contacts by email, which is where the parameter that I passed in, that does come from Keap as one of the parameters that they accept. So this query returned contacts that match that email address. The difference there being almost non-existent, other than the fact that you can iterate through larger lists, so they give you a little bit of extra data around it. The particular use case for this is that we have an action that a user sends a form, and their information comes in a webhook. It comes to this node, and we pass in the email address that they provided. Go ahead and execute this node again so it can be waiting, and I will resend so we can have some data to put in. At this point, the email address that is passed into, and I'll re-execute this because this is saying that it retrieved it without a parameter, so it got all the contact records. So I'm going to execute this again, and this is just going to show the one email address that matched that email, or the one contact record that matched that email address. What we would do in this case is we wanted to check if a contact record actually existed in Keap before doing anything. The difference being, in this previous one, the create update will send the email address to Keap, and if it is not a contact record already, will create a contact record for them. That is not the behavior that we want for this particular use. We actually only wanted to do something if they were already a contact. We did not want to create them as a contact based on just this check. So we can see here that there is a contact record that it returned, and it returns this count variable that tells us how many records it found. So really, one of the things we can do here is we can use if, and we can take the number of count this out and see if count is larger than 0, and if it is larger than 0, we can do something, and if it is not larger than 0, we will do nothing. In practice, what this will do is it will get the record. If the record existed, then it will go ahead and, in this case, get all of their contact tags, but we could add another tag that starts a campaign. So let's say you have a form on a page that is specific to members, and you put just, enter your email address or click this button to receive our content. Whether that form has got their email address hidden or they have to type it in, When they hit that button, it sends their email address over. If they're a member, then you want to go ahead and tag them and send them the thing. If they're not a member, you don't want to create them as a contact record because they didn't meet the qualifications. Or if you want to, send some information, if they're already, one of your customers, you want to send them some information. Or you can check to see if their tag IDs match some existing tags that you wanted to have. Either way, the ability to ensure that a contact exists without creating it in your record is not an option in the Keap nodes, so you're going to have to use the API for that. At this point, we really do have the information here. I don't really need to create anything for this particular test. That was just kind of an illustration. Another thing that we can do is, let me switch over, is we can kind of take the data and clean it up. Depending on the format of the data that you have coming in, you can prep your data from a website to kind of clean it up, to give you the format for n8n, but once you have it, again, you can go ahead and, let me just delete these, and retrieve the contact record. Once you have the contact record, you can then send a patch request, and that patch request can be to their API endpoint with an ID, which this tells it that you want to update that particular contact record. And then with that, down here, instead of these query parameters, we're going to send raw JSON data, and the body parameters we can actually use their strange format for Keap to update custom fields. It's an array of objects that contain the content you want and the custom field ID from Keap, but you can push custom fields directly into a contact record from here. So if you needed to take some data that you got from third-party forms and push it into fields in Keap that are not their default fields, custom fields you've added, I believe you can get 100 of those in a Keap account, so you can really kind of store some data specific to your business. Those you'll have to use the API for. This can actually be really powerful, particularly when it comes to surveys for your users and passing that data into Keap, or even some simple personalization for emails. You store their age or their gender, or just some other personal information, and you can just kind of rewrite particular emails based on the values of those fields in your campaigns. But you don't really have a good place to save those in Keap by default, so adding them as custom fields can really help you. If you do that, you'll need to use the HTTP request node, and you'll need the header authentication set up like we did. I'll go ahead and put the documentation link for the Keap API documentation, as well as the Keap developer URL, and we also have n8n has some documentation on some of this as well. In the Keap node, when you go to set up your Keap credentials, there are some docs here, and these will give you a little bit of that same information, the Keap developer console link, some steps to walk through to get that connected, but that will not help you with the API credentials version. You'll still need to kind of follow those steps to get the token, and to set that up so you can work with it directly. I mean, that should about cover it for the basics of getting data that you've sent into n8n and passing that on to either Keap directly through a node or through an HTTP request. Both of those methods can be really useful, and we do a lot of things with them, so hopefully that helps you, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.